everyone, this is Lulu from As You Wish Pottery, and in this video we're going to paint this super cute small heart plate. So we're going to begin by painting the background of the plate using a medium round brush and about 1 to 2 coats of peachy keen. Keep in mind, I like to dip my brush in a little bit of water before I start painting, just because I like the way it spreads my paint a little bit better. So it's up to you if you'd like to have a little bit more mobility when you are spreading your paint and you want to just dip your brush in water. I just like to do that to kind of start off with a light base, and then from then on be able to layer and still be able to see all my brush strokes. Next, I'm going to use my pencil to sketch out the lettering that I'm going to write in the center of the plate. This will just help me kind of know where I'm going to put my flowers later on. So it's just a quick sketch. Try to be light-handed when you're sketching with a pencil, just because I'm trying to not scratch off any paint on the background of that. Apart from that, I'm going to use my medium round brush again, and this time I'm just going to make little puddles little puddles of paint using the color in the pink and Rockin' Red. So I'm going to start off with in the pink. I'm going to make a few little clusters, and keep in mind I kind of follow a rule of 3 whenever I'm doing flowers or little puddles like this. So you'll see right now I'm starting off with 1 to clusters of 1 or 2, and then later on with the red I'll add another little blob in that section to give me the 3 little puddle flowers that I'm looking for. And just as I was saying earlier, now I'm going to add my red puddles, and this I'm going to do the same way I did in the pink. It's just kind of painting a small little blob and letting the paint kind of loosen up in that section, and then I just kind of swirl it around in a circle to try to create that little puddle effect. Next, I'm going to use the detail brush, and I'm going to paint some leaves around all my puddles. So I'm just going to do a collection of them wherever I see fit, wherever I feel like there's a blank space I want to fill. And I'm not going to do too many of them just because I don't want them to overtake my plate, but I do want them to be kind of a cute little accent since they're bright colored and not pink or red like everything else is in the background. And I also want to mention that I'm using double mint for the leaves. And since these are going to be outlined using black later on, I'm going to make sure that they're not too small, so that way I don't have to worry about having to paint really, really thin, small lines. Next, I'm going to use the back of the round brush, and I'm just going to paint a bit of dots all over the place, just trying to fill in some of those gaps that kind of have nothing going on. This is just a little accent. You can do this in really any color we've used. You can do it in red, in pink, as I did, or you could do them in the mint, or even black. Next, I'm going to use my detail brush to paint the lettering with Black Lab. Keep in mind that whenever you're doing any type of lettering, it's always best if you add a little bit of water to your black, so that way it's a little bit thinner. This is something that's totally up to you. It's your preference. I prefer my paint to be a little bit more of the consistency of ink, so I don't want it to be too thin that it becomes like a watercolor, too runny, but I want it to still be able to be moved and a little bit flexible and fluid whenever I'm doing some lettering with my detail brush. Another tip too, whenever it comes time for lettering, I highly suggest that you never overload your brush, that you start off with enough paint that you feel confident that you can create a stroke, because remember that you can always add more paint, but it's kind of trickier whenever you have to remove paint, right? So I like to start off with my lines being thinner, and then I thicken them up as I go, and I also work 1 letter at a time. I don't try to do the whole writing and then go over it. No, I do 1 letter, I perfect that letter until I'm comfortable or satisfied with it, and then I move on to the next letter, and I continue on until my word is completed. Alright, so next we're going to outline all of our little flowers and our leaves. I started off with doing all the flowers first, just because they require a different hand movement than the leaves will. And when it comes to the flowers, I just highly suggest just have a light hand. Remember, don't overload your brush, and I would say load it with less paint than you did when you were lettering. This is just to create the outline of the flowers, so we don't want it to take over and our flowers just become a black puddle, right? We want the color to show underneath, but we just want the black there as a nice little accent and a little encasing of our flowers themselves to give them that detail that they need, since they're just a little blob, right? So remember, don't overload your brush. Take it easy. If the paint is still too wet and you feel like it's just kind of picking up pink or red as you're going, skip that flower and move to another one until you are ready for it, until it's ready for you, whenever it's dry and ready to go. Remember, never work with wet surfaces. Just try to let things dry little by little. I have some puddle flowers that are kind of dry all the way, and there's some that are kind of still have a little bit of a chunkiness to the paint, or the paint is still wet. And I'm just going to go around that area that is still wet, and I'm going to avoid it as much as possible, and then keep going and outline all my other flowers. All right, and once you're done with all your flowers, go ahead and start outlining all the little leaves. For the leaves, I wanted them to be kept simple, just because I love that pop of the double mint, how it's so different compared to everything else. So right now I'm just encasing them in that mint color, and I don't want to take away anything from it, so I'm just going to outline their outside. And these are just some quick strokes that I'm creating, starting from the bottom of the leaf all the way to the top. And as I lift, or as I do my line, I'm also lifting my brush a little bit to create kind of a quick thick to thin line. And remember, you can always practice this too on paper if it feels a little bit easier, or on the back of the plate until you feel comfortable doing it. Alright, so lastly, I'm just going to paint some dots on the edge using Q-tips and black lab. And remember that things are still wet, so try to be careful whenever you are handling your plate. Make sure that whatever area you're touching, it is dry, and if it's not, give it a couple minutes to dry. The paint dries really fast. And remember, it also washes off with water, so if you do have some in your hands, make sure to touch something wet and wipe it off before you continue on touching the rest of your dish. Alright, so here is a little close-up of the dish, ready to be glazed and fired. I hope you had fun painting with me today. Have a great day. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.